Is a de-dollarization really coming soon? And will gold back the next global reserve currency? Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Yankee Stacking. King Dollar has dominated global trade and has been the leading reserve currency for nearly 80 years. But we're hearing in the news that that's changing, and changing remarkably fast. In March, China and Brazil reached an agreement to settle trades in each other's currencies. Indonesia just ditched the dollar for local currency. Russia and Iran are reportedly working together to launch a cryptocurrency backed by gold. And central banks everywhere, especially Russia and China, are buying up gold at the fastest pace since 1967. Countries are undeniably moving their reserves away from the dollar. In 2001, 73% of the world's currencies held by central banks were in dollars. Now, that figure is 58%. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are all actively pursuing an independent currency. In fact, just last Thursday, Joseph Sullivan, the former White House Counsel of Economic Advisors for the Trump administration, said that, quote, this hypothetical currency actually has the potential to usurp or at least shake the dollar's place on the throne. But how close are we really to seeing the dollar dethroned as king? And is gold going to be the kingmaker soon? Well, here's a thought experiment. What if, sometime in the near future, China says to the United States, well, we'll still take your dollars for our manufactured goods that you want so badly, but for every million you spend, we expect 100,000 of it, 10%, to be paid in physical gold. Can you imagine? I think that's possible. I'm going to discuss this de-dollarization with my guest today. He's Tim Smith, the CEO of U.S. Gold Mining, a sponsor of this video. Let's hear Tim's take on it. Welcome, Tim. Thanks for joining Yankee Stacking.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me on the show today.
We are continually hearing news of BRICS nations undermining the dollar. What's your take on the whole topic of growing de-dollarization?
Look, it's an interesting question, certainly, and this geopolitical environment that we've entered into, I guess you could say post-COVID, the BRICS companies are certainly, some of them are certainly flexing, and particularly you would think of China and obviously Russia in particular, in different ways, different aspirations. China clearly pushing its aspirations to become a military superpower. And obviously Russia clearly taking that one step further with extreme, obviously alarming land grab in terms of their invasion of Ukraine. So with respect to the dollar, I guess what I'm seeing year to date is that that flexing is I don't really see it working on. I mean, the US dollar looks pretty strong so far this year. So in terms of trying to knock off or weaken the dollar, perhaps weaken United States dominance in world economy, I don't really see it having a significant effect right now. US dollar strengthened against the ruble. It's a little flatter, but I think we're seeing strength against the yuan, and it's certainly strengthening against those other BRICS nations.
So you don't see any de-dollarization or any dethroning, I should say, of the dollar anytime soon. And I can understand that too. I mean, we're still about 58% of reserve currency around the world. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it's seeming to pick up speed over the last few months. What is the likelihood of a gold-backed currency gaining traction?
Well, look, I think gold has been there for thousands of years. It's obviously underpinned economies globally since the dawn of time. It truly is a currency. We often think of it as a metal, as a commodity, but it is a currency in its own right. The significance of gold underpinning our economy in the US and the West is obviously something that is critical. We have major reserves available to us in North America. I think it's very important to have some commodity, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, one of the precious metals. Look, I think you definitely need to have it there. I certainly have it there. I've been involved in the industry my entire career, over 27 years now. Have always been heavily invested in the space. And what we think investors in that sector care about, especially coming out of the COVID pandemic with the supply chain issues that we've seen, is the sustainability of supply of resources to the US economy. Maintaining sustainable resource security, obviously something that we all care about. We need to have diversity in that metal supply. We can't rely on those BRICS countries as a sole source. We need to have responsibly sourced homeland derived metal supply. I think that's starting to be something that's becoming really critical for investors in our space.
Well, I think it's been a very interesting 6 months for both the dollar and gold. I mean, the dollar's declined, I think, 7.5% over the last 6 months relative to other currencies. Gold has climbed 17% during that time. And, Tim, as a precious metal stacker, that's encouraging for me. I hold physical gold and silver, as a tangible protection from out-of-control governments, central banks that don't know how to stop printing currency. So I love holding it. But one of the junior mining companies I own is Gold Mining, and it's up 22% over the past 6 months. And I think that just shows the leveraged opportunity that exists with the price of gold, as long as you get in with a good quality junior. And you have just IPO'd a spinoff from Gold Mining called US Gold Mining Inc.
Commenting on gold, it has been a very interesting 6 months, and wow, what an amazing time to launch an IPO. I think we timed it extremely well. We got asked a lot about why we were running an IPO in the market at the start of the year. We launched right about the end of February. And I think, when we started the process, that was a valid question. We had certainly seen strengthening of the gold price. It's up $200 since the IPO, but going back, before that, we certainly saw it strengthening late last year around inflation fears and maybe devaluation of cryptocurrencies. Likewise, copper has been very strong. It's been averaging about $4 a pound since the start of the year. It's not quite back at those sort of COVID pandemic 450 highs that we saw, but certainly sustaining a price well above pre-pandemic. So, we think this has just been a great time to launch a new gold copper company in America. We're really excited to reboot Whistler. It's an undeveloped gold deposit about 100 miles from Anchorage. Never been mined. It's sitting in the ground. It was discovered about 20 years ago. It was drilled by a group of majors. Our parent company and 80% shareholder of US Gold Mining, Gold Mining Inc., acquired the project in 2015. We did really very little with it for the first 5 years, waiting for essentially the recovery in the metal price, and we started to see that around 2020 into 2021. So I'm the CEO, delighted to have this opportunity to lead this new company.
From what I was reading, your market cap is around 100 million US, right?
Correct.
And you got about I think 20 million in the bank.
Correct.
So the market values your company's gold resources, indicated and inferred, at only $10 an ounce. And that's like 9.4 million ounces at $10 an ounce, when the global median is around $40 an ounce. Am I right with this?
You're absolutely right. We certainly see the average valuation for development stage assets at closer to $40 to $50 an ounce. So there's a 4 to 5 times multiple. So our program over the next 2 years, our strategy is carefully geared towards delivering or undertaking the steps around exploration to grow that resource, to increase the confidence in the resource, to add additional mine engineering studies, to develop essentially a mine scoping study, a compelling economic study that we can deliver to the market and then achieve that re-rating. So that's really the core of the next 2 years of work ahead of us here. We see a great opportunity to get that 4 to 5 times. Longer term, we see beyond that, when you start to take projects through to feasibility level, you start to see closer to $100 per ounce. So there's a 10 times re-rating over perhaps the next 1 to 2 years beyond that. So we've put together, a management team that we think has the skill set and the experience to really unlock the value in this asset for our shareholders. Myself as CEO and my colleague, Alistair Still, who's chairman of the company, we've both worked for the mid-tiers and the majors in the past. We worked together at Goldcorp and then at Newmont. We spent a lot of time on M&A activity looking for assets exactly like Whistler.
There's only a handful of juniors with over 9 million in gold indicated and inferred, right? I mean, you're in rarefied air here.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we're in the sweet spot. We've got the right size, but we don't see the scale that the capex, the development cost, is going to be so huge that it just really starts to actually make it difficult to put the funding together and find the partners to build it. We think 10 million ounces is a really sweet spot to be in. It's the sort of 400,000 to 500,000 ounce gold equivalent production that the majors want to have in their portfolio.
Well, as a Gold Mining Inc. shareholder, I have a stake in that Whistler project, and I love that Whistler project. I think it's great. But if you want to check out U.S. Gold Mining, the ticker symbol is USGO. It's, again, on the NASDAQ, not over the counter. So your trading app will probably allow you to purchase it if you're interested in it. This is a speculative investment, so make sure you do your own research. Tim, how can people get a hold of you if they have more questions?
So go to our website, us.goldmining, all one word, .com.
Well, I'll put that website info in the description of the video. Thanks so much again for joining me, Tim. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for your time. Happy to come back anytime.